So welcome back to MVP Real Estate Podcast, Season 3, Episode 4. We've got Kerri here. Welcome to the show, first off.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, giving us the time. Excited to learn what you do and where you operate your business. So I guess let's just jump into that. Can you give our audience kind of a background of what your business is and what drew you to that business that you're flourishing in now?
Yeah, so I'm a realtor here in Washington, D.C. I work in the D.C. metro area. That means I have 3 real estate licenses. I'm licensed in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So I do a lot of continuing education.
That thing.
Yes. And, you know, every jurisdiction has slightly different rules and contracts and all of that. So, but, you know, most realtors who work in the DC metro area have that. I focus on residential real estate, so mostly buying and selling. I do some rentals for clients that I have a relationship with otherwise. And I got into real estate in 2019. My oldest daughter at the time was 9 months old, and I was working at a nonprofit that was doing really cool work. I was overseeing a global certification program for women-owned businesses to help them get into large corporate supply chains, which was amazing work. But I was gonna be having to do a lot of international travel. So, you know, traveling to Africa, Europe, Asia, and that just wasn't going to fly with a 9-month-old.
Yeah.
My husband is also a teacher. So since considering we live in a relatively expensive real estate market, you know, a nonprofit salary and a teacher's salary really wasn't going to do it long term. So I had met my now coach years earlier through a friend in graduate school. I got my master's degree in social enterprise, and my undergraduate degree is in international business, and I am the child of an entrepreneur. So business has sort of always been floating in the background, and people always used to ask me like, oh, are you going to start your own business one day? And I'd always be like, no, that's so much work. I'm not going to do that. And here I am with my own business.
Yep.
So my coach works with the real estate team that I am on now. And the name of my team is the Best Address Group, and our brokerage is RLAH Real Estate. And he connected me to the realtor who is not part of this team, who helped me buy my first house. And when I was on maternity leave, I had a conversation with her, like, I'm thinking about a career change. Can we talk about real estate? And then because she knew my coach, she knew that my current team and my team lead, Joe, were looking to bring on a new agent and train somebody up. And she was like, you need to talk to Scott. And Scott was like, you need to talk to Joe. And Joe was like, you need to join my team. And I was like, I have to go on a business trip to London. I'll let you know when I get back. And I went on my business trip. My CEO was there, and I basically told her I was thinking about leaving. And she was kind of like, okay. And then I came back and I was like, all right, let's do it. And here I am.
Well,
That's awesome. A change for the good.
Yeah. It's one of the best decisions I ever made.
Yeah. Comes with some fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. With the 9-month-old, that changes the game.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions about your background. One is a curiosity one that I'll leave for the end of the show, because my sister used to live out in Baltimore, and I'd go out there, and we went up to Philly. We went to DC, and I just kept noticing something about real estate, and I have to ask you a question because I think you'll know the answer.
Okay.
But I'll save that to the end. So cliffhanger there.
My question is, I have to ask this before we can go further. What baseball team do you like?
So I'm originally from New York, so I am a Yankee fan, and I married a Met fan, and
That's hilarious.
It gets a little tense sometimes, but mostly what happens is I like to make fun of my husband and be like, I can't believe you like the Mets. And he's like, you haven't watched baseball in years, so can you name the roster of the Yankees? And we just go back and forth like that. Like, no, I can't. Shut up.
My dad was from New York, was a Yankees fan. I lived in Baltimore and worked for the Orioles, so I'm an Orioles fan. My husband is a Red Sox fan and lives in Wisconsin.
Bro.
And I'm
Ooh.
like, why are you? So it's a big throw up in this household, but
Everyone's a winner except for your husband. Boston, why?
I have to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Yankees, I could root for the Yankees. I could root for the Mets.
No.
Baltimore, you can root for them, but they're going to lose. But they're an okay team.
Yeah. I mean, the Mets are the
Culture-wise.
same way, right? Like you can love them, but they're going to break your heart every
Yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
now we can get back to real estate. I just had to get it out of the way.
I'm curious about the real estate licensing. So in Wisconsin, we have reciprocity to Minnesota. Is that kind of the same deal with what you have with Virginia and the surrounding areas? Or do you actually have to take 3 different tests to practice in those 3 areas?
Yep. You have to take 3 different tests. So I took my 60-hour licensing course for DC, took my DC test and the national test. Then I learned all the rules and regs in Maryland, took my Maryland state test. Then I learned all the rules and regs for Virginia and took my Virginia state test. And Virginia is a great state because they require 30 hours of professional learning units your first year. So you do everything to get your license and then you have to do an additional 30 hours. So my first year was really intense.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And
so
I got
every
my
2
DC
years, you have to do CE which is continuing education for all 3
Yes.
states.
And there is some overlap, like they will, especially in DC and Maryland, they sort of share some of the classes. So it's not like, oh, it's a lot. It's always a lot. You guys know.
Let's
just
not
a
make
lot.
this easy. I don't like doing 1 CE. So to do 3, that's a handful.
Right.
So kudos for you to keep it all together.
Yeah. And it was very intense. I got my DC license in January. I think I got my Maryland one in March and I got my Virginia one in April. So I just went in, I was like, I have to do this all and go in really hard or I'm just never going to do it.
That's exactly how I did it when I started too. I was like, and we're done.
Was it due to you seeing the market as, okay, people moving in and out of these areas? It's hard to find buyers or sellers that are like, okay, I live in Virginia and I'm going to live in Virginia. Or did you find like they're going to move from Virginia and go to Baltimore, DC, or they are going to transport? Is that the necessity for it? Or what was your thought process behind getting all 3?
So my team, what's going on there?
It's my office alarm. When people try to break into my office, the alarm goes off. AKA my truck.
Yep. So my team, the Best Address Group, we work sort of general DC metro area. So inside the Beltway, which includes DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Usually what I see is people who live in DC often are looking for more space. They, have a family, whatever. They are usually going out to the suburbs. And usually that's always Maryland or Virginia. Okay. So it could be either or. I will tell you, people who live and want to live in Virginia almost never want to live in Maryland, and people who live and want to live in Maryland almost never want to live in Virginia. It's like a very clear cut, like you are a Virginia person or a Maryland person.
Yes.
I got that feel from Maryland. They are prideful.
Well, of course.
They're very prideful.
Well, that came out wrong.
Even now, they moved back to Wisconsin, and he ships in Obey from Maryland.
Yes.
Like that, he is just diehard. Mm-hmm. And they lived there for 2 years.
Yeah. Maryland's a really great place. Virginia is too, but they're different. They're very different. So, depending on your personal vibe, one usually vibes with you better than the other.
So it's funny because my husband lived in Virginia right around the same time I lived in Maryland. We had no idea, like we didn't know each other in the slightest. And we had this, like we lived in the same areas, like at the same time in our lives, but never knew each other. But now we met each other.
This is a
But,
straight up How I Met Your Mother in real life.
For sure.
One of the things we joke about here is, oh, my friend moved to Virginia. I'm never going to see them again. But they only live 30 minutes away. But it's like you have to go over a bridge and cross a river, and it's like it might as well be an ocean.
That's what happened when we moved from inner city or like downtown Baltimore, and we moved out to the suburbs. It was like we were out of the bubble, like we didn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
it was really sad. Even though we could take the light rail into town from where we lived, we didn't exist.
Right.
The Northeast, different animal.
Yeah.
The brokerage that you work for, that's not a big box brokerage. Is that more of a smaller private?
It is a boutique brokerage.
Okay.
The name is RLAH, and we call it RLAH, which stands for Real Living at Home. So it was part of Real Living, but this is their brand for this area. And now with everything going on with Real Living, it's sort of broken apart, but we are technically still owned by Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay. Awesome. But you guys, it's not like a franchise, it's your own separate brokerage that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. And how big is that brokerage, would you say?
I think our brokerage right now has about 350 agents. They've grown a lot in the last year.
Okay.
At the end of what year is it? So at the end of 2020, it was a big deal because that was the first year they hit $1 billion in sales volume. And now at the end of 2021, it looks like 2022 is going to be a $2 billion year for RLAH, which is really exciting.
That's awesome.
And this is also the 10th anniversary. So it's a big year.
That's awesome. That is super cool. Congratulations for you guys doing some dominating on the East Coast.
Well,
So
I am just a
there.
small part of an awesome brokerage and an awesome team.
And that was like my next question. Where does it go for you? Are you going to stay there? Do you have the ability to get like a team underneath you? Like you were saying, kind of your mentor is in that same brokerage. Is that the ability for you guys? Is that what operates?
So, yep. So I'm on a team. So my team lead is Joe Himley. He's amazing. Right now we have 2 sales agents. So I'm the other sales agent. And then we have 2 assistants. So our assistants are also licensed. So, one or both of them at some point might look to transfer more into the sales side of things. And then, when the moment is right, I definitely think Joe's going to want to bring on at least one more agent, maybe a couple. And for right now, I love my team. We're super values-based, which is something I think really special. And I've been with them since the beginning, and I have no intention of leaving them.
Yeah. No, that's cool. When you can find a good group like that can communicate well, bounce ideas off of, and have the support. That's where some people flourish, and that kudos for you for finding it. Did you look into any of like the big box brokerages?
I am the worst person to get advice from on how do you get into real estate, because literally I talked to one team at one brokerage and I was like, these are my people, and I just went with it.
That's a good thing.
I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. You just struck gold, which is good.
I did.
I just had a conversation with someone last week, and she's got a newborn. They've got another one on the way, and she was like, I'm studying to take my real estate license here in Wisconsin. I'm looking up the Shore Wests and the First Webbers and all that. And I was like, how many small brokerages did you look at? And she's like, oh, I didn't. And I was like, give them a shot.
Yeah.
Like, not small brokerages do not mean less money.
No,
so
they don't.
Check them
out. And they don't
mean
less services either. Like our brokerage has an amazing support staff, and they have a full support staff. So as much marketing support, transaction support, all kinds of other support that you need, it's all there. And RLAH has done an amazing job of saying they are agent focused. So really focused on making sure their agents feel supported, which is incredible.
Yeah. And especially in that first, I always emphasize like the first year, because it's a grind. Getting leads, getting buyers, getting sellers, getting your name out. It's a grind. It's networking. It's talking to people. It's open houses. It's not a fun first year. The sales are a lot of fun, but building up that client base, it's hard. So how does Arlo help newer agents or help you kind of start your business off on the right foot?
So RLAH does a lot of great training. You know, they do Buffini. They have some in-house coaching and training.
What is it
with
called?
staff members. Buffini.
Buffini. What is that?
Oh, you don't know Brian Buffini?
I don't
Google
know
Brian
Brian. Do I need to
Buffini.
know Brian?
You should know Brian Buffini because
Okay.
So he is out in California and he's not, I don't think he actually is an agent anymore, but like, you know, tons of sales, has been in this business for a long time and has a whole training program now, but he has the most fun Irish accent. So you should definitely look him up just so you can hear the accent.
We will put him in the show notes.
And his favorite thing is to say when you're talking to people, oh, by the way. So you can be like, oh, by the way, you know, I'm never too busy for you and your referrals, and things like that, which is not really my brand, but I did take a lot of takeaways from his class, which I thought were really helpful. He's really big into personal notes, which I am now really big into, which is really helpful. So they have Buffini training, they have in-house coaching and mentorship at RLAH. They've done some other kinds of training, with some other agents, and I'm forgetting his name now. So they have a lot of that support. And then my team, you know, Joe really was and is a mentor to me. So my first year, I basically shadowed him, you know, and we went through, you know, 3 different sets of contracts. And I don't know about your contracts, but in Virginia, like contracts are probably an average of like 15 pages. In DC and Maryland, they're like 35, 40 pages. So it's a lot to learn.
What are some of those?
Disclosures.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, what's the differential between what is that, 15 different pages?
Yeah, lots of disclosures in DC and Maryland. So, you know, like, and Joe has been in this business for over 20 years. So getting to see someone who has a very established business and a great way of doing things, because it's been refined over the years. And at one point, Joe had his own small brokerage and then joined RLAH later, but being around someone who understands this is what the brokerage is thinking and the brokerage perspective, and this is the team perspective, and this is the agent perspective, is, you know, all of that is really helpful.
Absolutely.
And, you know, seeing deals actually done, that's the part they don't teach you in any of the courses, where you really need the mentorship.
Yeah. No, that's cool that they give you the whole view of, okay, this is where the brokerage is at, and this is where we want to go. So now every piece underneath there can kind of see the overall mission. And the big thing is getting people to buy into that overall mission, which it seems like with you growing to 300 plus agents, you guys are seeing the mission and it's progressing if you're going to hit 2 billion this year. So I try to do that with my staff as well, about, hey, this is where the company is going to go, and these are all of our positions. So you need to do these well. I need to do this well. The foreman needs to do this well, so that we can progress into the ultimate goal of where we want to go. So it's cool that they give you that whole background to it. Mm-hmm. And that alone is what and not to put my bias out there, but that's what I didn't like about the big box retailer or realtors. It was, you're the pawn and go do your job. And that's about all they give you. And it just didn't give me that. It didn't give me the family, we're in it together vibe. So, does RLAH do anything specific for like lead generation for new agents? Do you guys have some sort of lead source, or is it like you have that, I'm never too busy for your referrals, which is a great line?
So RLAH does have a lead generation program for new agents. And when you're working specifically with some of the coaches and whatnot, that's how, that's how they do it. They want to make sure that you've sort of got your business in place, you know what you're doing. And then they're like, we've got leads for you. Because I'm on a team and I've always worked with Joe, when I was starting out, Joe was like instrumental. I don't think I would have gotten through my first year in real estate without Joe. He definitely gave me my leads for my very first transaction was a lead from him. And then I had 2 listings that first year that were leads from him, which made a huge, huge difference. And now I'm really at the point where I've sort of found my sweet spot in my own network. So I don't get a lot of leads from him. Every once in a while, Joe will say, I'm too busy for this, or this isn't the right fit for me. Do you want to do it? But really, I'm in a good place personally where I don't really use the lead gen systems anymore.
That's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your sweet spot. What would you say your sweet spot is? I know you do some rental if it's a good fit for you, but what is your kind of sweet spot in terms of buyers, sellers, area, price point?
So I am very focused right now on a few areas and neighborhoods. So there in Northwest DC, there's a few neighborhoods called Tacoma, Brightwood. I'm very focused on those. And then right over the border in Maryland, there's Tacoma Park, Silver Spring. And I'm focusing in this area because I found a group of working moms, and my kids are 3.5 and 9 months old now. And most of those moms also have young children. So they are very much either first-time buyers or they have their first house, they've outgrown it, and they're looking to move on to their next home. So for me, that has become like my biggest source of business. And I also consider these people friends. I didn't join this group to find leads. I joined it because I wanted to connect with other working moms who understand how hard it is to be a working mom. And through that, I've built all these personal relationships that are now, coming to fruition, which is not what I was expecting, but incredible.
Yeah, it's a good outcome for sure. It worked out. And that's cool that you've realized like where your strengths are and you're doubling down on those and it's working. I mean, there's nothing like going into a home sale with someone that gets your background. She's a working mom with kids like I am. She's going to know what kind of feel or what house I'm looking for, what area I'm looking for. So that like deeper connection of just like your life aligning is definitely going to give you a little bit more credibility and be able to help them way more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's where I live and I love this area. So it's nice to be able to work in an area that I love anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. And you can tell your clients about it.
Right.
Hey, we live here and these are the things we do and this is what's available for your kids. So that's like, that's a big background bonus for you.
Absolutely.
Do you see yourself expanding out of that, or do you like that niche and you want to stay there? Because there's no wrong answer. I'm just throwing it out.
I think for me, I'm definitely going to focus in on this area. I've gotten to the point now, I'm starting my 4th year where the brokerage and my team have finally convinced me that I have to start doing postcards, which I've been very against.
Ooh.
So, but I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. And so I am now starting to farm a small part of my specific neighborhood, which is Brightwood, DC. So, I think for right now, I'm definitely going to focus on this area. And not that I won't work with other people. I have other clients right now who they're thinking they probably want to move to DC or the Virginia suburbs, So and they're a personal connection. So it's not that I won't do that, but it's not going to be my focus. And I think in our market, there's so many agents and so many brokerages and just so many different niches that it took me a while to find this one, but now that I found it, I'm like, well, duh, this is like the perfect niche for me. Why? And I enjoy it, and I enjoy these people. So why would I do anything else?
For sure.
Yeah. No, in these postcards, do you have ideas of like how you're going to pinpoint, or what market demographic that you're going to pinpoint, or how do you go about building that for someone who's an agent that's kind of in that threshold where they need to do some self-marketing?
So I think the reason I held out for so long is because I didn't want to market myself. It just makes me feel uncomfortable. But as a business owner, and I am the brand, I have to do it. So, I had a lot of conversations with one coach at RLAH, Heath in particular. And he was sort of like, all right, let's talk about you. Let's talk about things that you like. And basically what we came up with is that I'm focusing on Brightwood. And I love local business. I'm a huge supporter of local business. My dad was always a local business owner. So that's been something that's been important to me my entire life. So what we're doing is the postcards, there's going to be one a month, alternating. So 6 months out of the year will be postcards from me with either neighborhood market stats specifically. The first January was how much did real estate prices appreciate in Brightwood in 2021? And then we'll alternate focusing on local businesses. So, I've partnered with a local business organization here to say, here's a local business. This is a coffee shop. Bring this postcard in and you'll get a free, we haven't decided yet, maybe a free pastry, a free coffee, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If you go bring this postcard to this business. And that way, I'm actually supporting my community, getting some foot traffic to businesses that may not have it otherwise, that may be struggling, especially since we're in a pandemic. So, making it useful information to people, but not just trying to sell them stuff.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And do you have, obviously your office staff will help garnish the market data or the local businesses to open up the conversation where you can go in and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to team up?
And as a consumer, I'm more likely to go with someone who's offering me something that's going to benefit me versus going with somebody who's just asking me to benefit them. Like, hey, I'm going to sell you a house. Okay, great. I'll help you earn your commission, where you're giving me at least a little something, that to me is
right.
Thinking about me first and you second.
Yeah.
Right. And, we all get the postcards in the mail all the time from just the random postcard from the random agent. That's like, I'm amazing. I'll sell your house. And for me, that never hits. I'm like, I don't know you. You've sent me this one postcard. Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think right now, especially with how inundated we are with emails from agents and postcards and flyers and all that stuff, it's got to be specific. And that's we do postcards here, and I try to get as specific as I can. And I actually use an app called Deal Machine to find the properties that I'm targeting. And that's more for buy and hold, but you can find some where I'd start a conversation of, hey, I drove past your home. It pulls the tax record, so it pulls their name in. It's very automated, but the postcard itself looks so direct,
right?
Which is why I like it. It's got my picture. It's got the picture of their house on it. It has their name, and then I can change whatever I want it to say. But I find that going very specific leads me more fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So I can start the conversation saying, hey, I like your house. If the deal goes sideways and we can't agree on a number, at least I've got a conversation with them. And then I'll leave my business card. I'll leave them even if it's like a $10 gas card, just for the conversation. I appreciate you getting back to me. I appreciate the conversation. Here's $10 for a quick trip, which is what do you have out in the East Coast? Is it wow, what is that gas station?
Wawa?
It starts with Wawa, yeah. So Wawa gas station, funny name. Just for their time. And then you could say, hey, I know it didn't work out with me, but if you ever look to sell your house, like here's my business card too. I'm an agent, and it at least creates some sort of a lead.
Right.
But getting specific and getting them to feel like you're talking to them and not everyone on the block, but they're just the one sucker that called you, I think in my head goes a long way.
Right. Yeah.
You said something before that I want to touch on, because Natasha has yelled at me before about this, because I am not social media literate. I don't like marketing myself. Like my company is my company and I am a different person. So when I have to do like videos and put my face in it or highlight myself, super awkward for me. But Natasha
I hate
has
it.
very, very nicely put it. Suck it up, Buttercup. You got to do it.
Yeah.
So,
and I actually think the hardest part is sometimes coming up with the content, which is why you're so lucky you have Natasha to tell you what to do. But like for me, I was like, okay, I'm doing this podcast interview today. So I was like, let me do a little Instagram story. Hey, I'm doing something exciting today. I'm being interviewed for a podcast. Like I'll share it when it's available. Stay tuned. Oh, by the way, there's an article in the New York Times today. Yeah. Brian Buffino, by the way, talking about how it's a housing shortage. It's not a real estate bubble. I'm going to share that article with you later.
Right.
And just little things like
that.
Cool.
That's cool. That's very good. And you do it all by yourself too.
My social media, I do all by myself. I do not think of social media necessarily as a way to market myself. Like I post all my listings and my sales and all of that. But really I think of it as a place for people to get to know me.
That's exactly. Yes. Yay.
Yeah. So I will say the only way I have ever gotten leads on social media, and this, like, I just did it on a whim, was I was talking about doing CMAs for people. And, you know, someone had asked me to do a CMA and they were like, how much do you charge? And I just popped on there and I was like, I will do a CMA for anyone for free anytime. There's no charge for that. Even if you don't want to sell your house, if you just want to know what it's worth, I will do that. And I had at least 2, maybe 3 people reach out to me and say, you know what, I think I do want to sell my house this year. Could we talk? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy way to
it is. That's a really good way to touch a lot of people and quickly. And it doesn't really cost you that much. I definitely, when I started, I was in the mode of like, I'm a dad. I'm in real estate, like super boring. I don't know why people would want to know more about me. There's nothing here. I'm just I'm a simpleton. And then it got to the point where like, you got to get over the fear of, and I think for me it was rejection about me putting all this stuff out and people not taking to it. And then I'd be like, okay, well that failed. And then I would try something else. And then eventually I'd be like, well, it's not working. I'm not getting anything out of it. And then somehow I don't know if it was Natasha just punching me enough, but it finally got to be, no, it's in a nice way. It's a love tap. But it was more of just like, hey, put out information. If you have the information, it doesn't hurt to throw it out. If people want to come to the information and read it, that's great. If they don't, they don't. But at least put the information out. And it took that fear of it not working or me putting out the wrong information or people not liking what I'm posting.
Right. You know,
it took that fear out of it for me.
I always live by, like, my mom always used to tell me, she's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to tell you no. You can deal with no, right? Like, that's not awful. And that's what I tell my 9-year-old too. I'm like, go ask your teacher for help. If she says no, well, then you can figure it out. And like the same thing in our lives and with real estate, we'll give them the information that we feel like that could be beneficial to them. If they don't want to hear it, okay, next.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And you know, I don't have enough followers that I get a lot of trolling and all of that, but no one ever reaches out to be like, well, I can't believe you put that out there.
Right. Exactly. I don't think anybody's that mean. I hope not, at least.
Right.
But you never
Yeah.
watch me
Right.
see that and have somebody like be like, that was silly. Okay.
The other part with this kind of goes into the question that in the beginning of the show I wanted to ask you. The one thing I noticed about the physical real estate in, especially in Baltimore, it was a little less in DC, and it was like, I think at its peak in Philly. The houses are usually brick, and they've all got that same like row. It's all one big row on the side, and then the other side is one big row of brick, but
I
they all connect.
I miss those row homes so much. If I could have a
Yes.
row home here, I would.
So DC
There's real estate
itself
development out here.
has a ton of row homes.
Mhm.
And you can sort of think of them like, for people who haven't been here, who haven't seen, they look kind of like a row of townhouses, except each
Yeah.
one is a single family home and it's fee simple real estate. So there's no HOA or any of that. And there's a lot of different versions of that. You know, there are ones that, you know, in the DuPont Circle, Old City area that are huge, like mansions. That were built in the late 1800s, and a lot of those at this point have broken. They're big enough that a lot of them have been broken into condos. So each level, and sometimes the penthouse is a 2-level condo, is its own condo. So you get 3-4 units in some of those, and some of them are still single family homes, but they are
Those are for the
beautiful and expensive. Yeah. And then there's sort of the Wardman row houses, which are pretty famous, and there's actual Wardman row houses and ones that are just Wardman style, and which you see in a lot of other neighborhoods. And then there's, in my neighborhood, we have a lot of semi-attached, so it's really just 2 and then 2 and then 2 down the block. It's not like the whole block is attached. But once you get outside of the city proper, you don't see very many of those. And I mean, certain neighborhoods in DC, there are plenty of single family homes in the city. There are a ton of condos and co-ops. So we've got it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just it stuck out to me because I don't walk out my door and see that. I don't think we have any row homes even in Milwaukee or Madison, which is like our nearest metro.
It's like one block at a time, though. It's not like massive blocks of like row home, row home, row home. It's like, here's a block,
Yeah.
here's another block. But
Yeah. And I see it more in commercial here because we've got the old German, super like long and skinny brick building that is then conjoined to another skinny, long brick building. But it's all commercial. I don't really see it in the residential unless it's in like pockets, like you're saying.
I think it's in the lower spectrum of our see, like in DC, it's in the upper echelon. Here it's kind of in the lower that you don't quite touch. You're not quite in that low echelon of houses.
Yeah. And my big question when I saw it was like, how do you deal with damages to like walls that are conjoining? Like, how does that work, or where's the cutoff point, or who's responsible? Like, even if it's just a natural settling and the brick starts to bow into one person's house, it probably doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So really, like they call it a party wall. Everybody's responsible for like making sure that party wall stays up and is well taken care of. Usually the issues we see most with party walls are when developers come in and they'll like actually take down an entire house and they have to put up reinforcements along the party walls on both sides to keep it up and keep everything structurally sound. I feel like most of the time the issues you see are related to that construction and things not being reinforced properly. And then it's like, you know, that's sort of a big mess if that happens.
Yeah.
They are very brave developers. I don't know if I've got the
I mean, I feel like that's
to
just
deal with that one.
It's just part of being a developer here is, you know, it's not uncommon, especially homes that are fallen into disrepair, to sort of take them down to the foundation and build up. And not all neighborhoods, but certain neighborhoods allow you to pop up so you can add a whole nother level. So, you know, there are developers who that's sort of their specialty.
And that's talking about, like, let's say you have a row of homes, 10 row homes, and you want to, the fourth one is a tear down. You can actually knock down that fourth one, reinforce the third and the fifth, and then just keep building up from there.
I mean, it doesn't happen often that they take down all the walls. Usually the facade stays and they'll gut the inside and then just build up.
Okay.
But those you know, if you're doing anything structural, because sometimes they go out the back too, there's all kinds of permits and structural engineers and all those things to make sure that everybody's house stays standing.
I do have to say though, I miss a good rooftop deck. Like the decks in DC and Baltimore were pretty epic, and they were so cool because you could literally see the entire city from your house.
Yes. They are. And you know, whenever I'm showing properties and I'm up on a roof deck and you can see the Washington Monument, I always say to people, there is a premium if you can see the Washington Monument from your roof deck, because that means you can see the 4th of July fireworks from your roof deck and you are having a party that day.
Yes. Yes.
I do envision a huge party. Like all of the owners of the houses go up there all at once and have one big party up there.
Or I feel like anything where you could see like the inner harbor area too. Like, all right, you're good. You're golden.
And then the other part with all the row homes, and I didn't get to go like inside or the backyard if there is one. I didn't get to catch that, but I didn't see a lot of green space in the city, like the city proper area. Is that like a premium that clients look for if they want the city living? Like, is there the ability to have that? And that might be a very dumb question. I apologize.
It depends on the neighborhood. So like even in my neighborhood, there are row homes that really in the back, you might have a parking pad or a concrete patio, and that's it. And there are row homes that might have a backyard that's 40 feet deep. So it really depends. And everybody, just about everyone, unless you're really downtown, has a little green space in their front yard and a front porch. But the city itself actually has great green spaces. You know, Rock Creek Park is huge, hundreds of acres. And they've got trails and you can ride horses and, you know, there's all kinds of things in there. And then the parks, there's lots of parks themselves throughout the city, big, small. The DC, for cities, DC is actually rated very well for green space. And we do have a lot of trees. So even if you don't personally have a lot of green space on your property, there are plenty of places to go.
Yeah, and now that you say that, I would agree with that, because DC did have the most like greenage or parks out of the 3 areas that we kind of toured around. And it had like a suburb vibe to it a little bit. It wasn't straight city like I saw in Philly and I saw in Baltimore. Philly was the most city out of the 3, and then Baltimore was a little bit more urban or rural, and then DC. I noticed the parks, so many Lime scooters. They have like a million Lime scooters. Not gonna go short on those. And then a Starbucks on every other corner is what I noticed.
Yes. Lots of coffee shops, lots of scooters and bikes, and they even have, I think, like more of like moped scooters now.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And our city, you know, they're working hard to make it more bike friendly. So we've got a lot of bike lanes for people who want to bike. And then, like you said, depending on where you are, you know, the downtown of DC feels very much like a downtown city area. But once you get outside of that downtown, into the neighborhoods feel like neighborhoods, and every neighborhood has its own feel.
Yeah. No, that was super cool. And I wish I could have spent more time to explore more of the outskirts of the city, but we saw like the city capitol. And then we went to some arenas. We saw Baltimore's Oh my God, I can't think of the stadium name. Natasha, help me out here.
Camden
Camden
Yards?
Yards.
Camden Yard. Wow. Yeah, being a baseball player, we'll edit that one out.
Good Lord.
Jeez. I'm gonna claim that as a Friday morning lull.
I don't, nope, I can't, nope. We're going to leave that right in.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. And then when we were in Baltimore, we saw where I think it was Edgar Allan Poe was buried.
He lived 3 blocks from where I used to live.
Yeah, so we went and
Ooh.
we saw like those monument places. So I think the next time we go back, it's gonna be like exploring the areas. And I'll kind of take what you're saying here and keep an eye out for those things because I know there's more to offer out there. And I'm slowly losing my bias to the East Coast.
Because it's awesome.
Slowly.
Yeah, the East
I
Coast
know.
is great.
I love it. That's where I want to get our next house, is somewhere on the East Coast.
Yes, come.
I know, but I want somewhere.
We know an agent.
See.
Yeah.
Warmer and less expensive. See, I'm so sorry. I would use you if I could, but I just can't afford it.
Understood. I won't take it personally.
Thank goodness. I was worried.
And I do like the East Coast. I first experienced the East Coast when I worked in customer service for a company. We were a manufacturer, and we were all sectioned off. So the South, the Midwest, the Northwest, Southwest, and then East Coast. And the East Coast, they were just so matter of fact, and like they'd call and be like, hey, I need this, and this is the part number, and then they hang up. And I was like, I didn't get to ask a question or like, where am I sending this to? So it's a couple times I called them back and they're like, you didn't get it? And I was like, I'm sorry. I had one other question for you. They're just so.
So it's funny that you say that because I'm originally from New York, which I feel like is like the least nonsense place in the world. It's like, this is the thing, do it now, gotta go, bye. And when I moved to DC, so I moved to DC in 2010, I would be like, people are holding doors. That's weird.
Yeah.
And like, people just want to chat. That's weird. So I still sometimes have to be like, don't just be like, do this thing in the email. Be like, hey, how are you? And just like slow it down.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes. And you know, DC, there are a lot of Midwestern transplants here, and they're so nice and so sweet. And it's like, oh, this is like, yeah, these people are nice. Like I can chill. I should chill and be more like them.
My husband's very like laissez-faire, very, very easygoing. And then there's me, who's like, he calls me a hurricane because I don't stop. Like I take on all these big projects and I don't have time for silliness. I don't like it. I don't have time for it. And he doesn't get it.
That's why you like the East Coast.
Yes.
Just interject you right into New York and you're at home.
People, they get me.
I just remember the New Girl episode where she goes to New York and she's trying to get a donut and she gets skipped like 8 times because she's like taking her time to get to the counter. And everyone like passes her up just thinking like, God, you're just not getting it. Like, hurry up.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's like, I'm trying to be nice. But more interactions like this, you don't give off the East vibe. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It's taken some learning.
No, you've learned very well.
Yes.
But I don't think the Northeast is as bad as it was made up to be. That was like that thing I was holding on to from a part where it was just, it's not a fun interaction when you're looking for a product and it's late. And especially on the East Coast when they've got deadlines and they've got things to do and they already don't like delays or funny business. So I was just caught in the misfire.
Yeah, and you know, like they are nice people. And I feel like it's a culture thing. And if you actually needed something, like people would definitely stop what they were doing to help you.
For sure.
It's just like sort of the chit chat. We don't have the same chit chat.
It's
No small talk.
yeah, no time. So I have one question that I typically ask at the end of our show, and it is, what DIY project have you completed that you are super proud of, if any?
DIY. So, let's see. So my dad is super, super handy. So if I'm doing any DIYs, usually I'm like, Dad, why don't you come down here and we'll do a project? Yeah. So I rarely do anything. It's been a long time since I did anything myself. When we bought our house, they had like weirdly walled off the living room to make it into a bedroom.
Oh.
So we took those walls down and opened it up, which has made a world of difference.
That's lovely and open.
That's a big DIY project.
Yes.
To take out
Everyone
walls.
should have, I mean, they were not structural walls. So they were like cheap, like just someone put up a wall and didn't even bother to square it kind of walls.
Perfect.
So like, it wasn't like we were like, oh, let's see if the house falls down. It was like, okay, no big deal.
Yeah.
So
I'm just thinking
that,
like, once you take the walls down, you've got trim that you need to repair. You've got flooring that you need to repair. You need to patch the drywall in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of like finishing work that comes to it.
So let me tell you why I don't do these projects on my own, because my dad is the person who, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and went to Home Depot and came home and was like, guys, I got on sale a compound sliding, blah, 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 miter saw. And I am so excited to use it. And I'm like, good. You know how to use it, you use it, and I'll just tell you what I want you to use it for.
I think your dad and I would get along just fine.
I have one of those blah, blah, blah miter saws.
Yeah.
Right.
They're awesome.
Right. They are. I mean, but like, you do need to know what you're doing to use it well, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to know the angles that the moldings need to go at and all of that. And
I can't do the miter saws. I can do jigsaws though. Miter saws, the angles and everything, it screws with my brain. I need to like sit down and like look at the angles and actually figure it out. Marcus, maybe you can give me a tutorial.
Yeah. So my dad
it comes with practice.
Here,
that's what it.
Yeah.
And basically just like leaves tools in the basement.
Love it.
And then I'll be like, oh, let's do this thing. Don't worry, I left the tools in your basement.
That's a good dad to have. That's kind of awesome.
Yes, he's an awesome dad.
Lucky ducky. Very cool.
Well, yeah, I remember using the miter saw the first time to try and cut crown molding.
Oh god.
In that,
very
just like stair stringers in crown molding, there's equations that go into it.
Yep.
And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the crown to meet correctly. Because if you're off by a degree, you'll see the reveal, and it's super frustrating. But once you practice enough and you get the equation down, it does get a lot more simple. You obviously still have to take a step back and not take like, oh, I know how to do this, I'm just going to whip it through. Like, take the time and put in the equation, and then it's just find the numbers and cut. So, but yes, it's intimidating when you start, for sure.
It is.
So kudos for your dad for coming to help out with all that stuff.
Coming to the rescue.
Yeah.
And you've been so busy with your business and your kids and your family. Like that shouldn't be where your focus is.
I mean, before my younger daughter was born last year, our third bedroom was a sleeping porch. And almost all the sleeping porches have slanted floors. So like a 12-inch slant to them I think it's like 8 feet wide, that room. And I was just like, we just got to hire someone and get this done. Like, there's no way. So I think for me, it's sort of just like, I know enough from watching my dad do enough projects to know where my limits are and roughly how much work something's going to be, and be like, I'm not doing that.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of how we were too. Like we've DIY'd a lot of projects, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to have somebody actually come in and tile our front entry. We can demo it. We'll demo it all day, but I'm not about to lay tiles in a place that gets hot and cold and like fluctuates. No thanks. I don't know enough. So I get you.
Is that done yet? Did that tile get done yet?
Nope, it'll be done. We go on vacation this weekend. And so then next week when we get back, they'll start doing all of my big projects. And then we're going to start cleaning the house. And then it's going to be done.
And then you'll find the next
Oh,
project.
Yeah, and then you'll be like, we need to do this now. Houses are never done.
I know.
Never
I'm
done.
already telling my husband, I'm like, I'm going to look up how we can redo the floors without a lot of sanding. He's like, stop. I'm like, okay, fine.
Oh no.
6 months.
Oh no. Pump the brakes.
For now.
Pump the brakes.
Well, it's either that or I'm going to start investing more. So it's one of the two. Small projects.
I like the investment route. Well, we hit our hour. I'm trying to be conscious of people's time, but we appreciate your time. Kudos to you for all that you've done in growing your business. Having a family, having kids, I know the struggle of how hard that is. So kudos to you and keep it rolling. We'll definitely add the show notes to, what was his name again?
Buffini.
Brian Buffini, the Irish guy with the
Brian.
Italian last name.
Yes.
I like it. So we'll add him into the show notes. If anybody on the East Coast is listening or people who are listening moving to the East Coast, how can they contact you?
So you can shoot me an email, Kerri, Kerri, at bestaddress.com. Or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. My pages are Kerri is Key.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love it.
I like it. I like
The
it.
alliteration, it works, right? It's kind of cheesy, but it works.
It does. And then obviously I'm guessing that if you're doing CMAs for free, if people just have questions, general questions about East Coast real estate, reach out.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to answer questions. I think about real estate as I'm never trying to sell anybody anything. I'm trying to help people make informed decisions. So if you just want to have an informational conversation, I'm happy to do that anytime.
Yay.
And there's our preview to this show right there. That statement. That was beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And thank you for the time. I appreciate it. And keep it going. Keep rolling.
My pleasure. Well, I am your newest listener, so I'll be following along on your show now. You're in my podcast rotation.
Oh my goodness. I'm honored. Thank you. Well, we hope you.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good
I appreciate
weekend.
it too. You too.
Enjoy the warm weather out there.
Yes.
I will
the
try.
warmer weather.
All right.
Well, perfect. And we'll get in contact soon to kind of get an update of how the business is going, if that's all right.
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I would love it.
Perfect.
All right.
Very cool.
All right.
Talk to you
All right.
soon.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.